right? I mean, this is not a POC. This is a full rollout. Telefonica, very big, one of the biggest telcos in the world. Enrique Blanco, their CTO, is driving a full transformation there. They announced Telefonica last year, right? They announced UNICA last year, we're really excited here to be selected, as not only the technology provider but also the system integrator for them, right, on this whole network. And this is a huge deal for us. It's a great validation, for our OpenNFV strategy and platform. And I think it's going to be a fundamental shift here.
Gotcha. How important is it to get this carrier support on this? I mean, obviously, it seems like this has been an initiative that the carriers have been behind, it seems like. I mean, obviously, carriers, AT&T, Telefonica, NTT, all these companies have really been behind this kind of push towards virtualization. How important is it to have these carriers really on board and actually vocal about these kind of deals that are coming out for you guys?
Well, look, I mean, the good news is it's an initiative by the carriers, right? So it's not a technology looking for a customer. It's a customer looking for technology. That's always a better place to be, right? So that's the good news. Now, there's a spectrum of where they are, right? There's folks like Telefonica who are visionary and are really out there looking to go full board. And there's other folks who are just dipping their toes in and they're saying, okay, let's try something and see what it works. Obviously, it's great to have someone like Telefonica really push forward and prove that this can be done, because all of them want to do it as fast as possible because the benefits are so strong. But we're seeing in the last year, a lot more movement from POCs to deployments. But this is obviously a much larger element here with someone like Telefonica doing this, because it's such a huge deal in terms of what they're planning to do.
Yeah. I mean, is there a concern about being, maybe early to market on this? I mean, I know, you guys and a lot of companies have been working behind the scenes on NFV for a long time, but it still seems like you're pretty early in the process and there's still lots of standards issues and things that need to be worked out. Is there a challenge or a concern being early to market on this, or do you think that is pretty necessary to really drive, to really meet those deadlines that these operators seem to be kind of pushing to really, roll out virtualization into their market, into their networks?
Well, the whole concept of NFV is to move faster. Right. So we're moving from 3-year, 4-year life cycles to cloud, internet speed and so forth. So I think they're using that as an element. Whenever you do that, obviously there's going to be challenges, and part of what they want is to work with someone like HP who's got both telco and IT capabilities. So we understand, we have the telco with IT speed, with our Helium, with our cloud, but we understand telco. And I think that's important. And so, there will be challenges, but they got to go fast. And part of moving to this architecture is understanding that you have to move at a DevOps sort of model. You can't just do things in a very sequential fashion, because if you do, you're going to get overrun by the OTTs, right? So, I think and also I think the technology is there. Like, obviously, there's a lot more that has to be done, but, VNFs are running, things are working. So I think, and if you look at what people are doing, like, they're not doing everything in 5 minutes, right? They're going to roll out in stages and so on, improve it and get it working and learn it. But, I think it's time. I think they see there's enough working now that they can move to deployments.
Got it. Is there a need or concern, or I guess you're trying to meet, I guess, the future-proof needs of this as well? Because obviously that's always a challenge. I mean, like you said, this is going to take years and years to really roll out. But you have to make sure that the ones that are rolled out 5 years from now work with the ones that are rolled out today. Is that something that you guys obviously are working on as well, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason they want an open platform, right? They don't want to be locked into some, I think, again, one of the reasons they've been choosing, and one of the reasons we chose a few years ago, and why they're choosing OpenStack is because it's an evolving platform. Now, there's good news and bad news there, of course. Evolving is difficult, but that's why we're working with the industry, working with people like Wind River to drive sort of carrier-grade capabilities there. So I think from a platform perspective, the architecture's there. And I don't think there's a big fear of them being locked in and sort of, it's going to be flexible moving forward. And that's what they want. It's an extensible platform. There's obviously a lot of work to be done. I think, what a lot of the areas we're spending time on, which is where there's some challenges, is around the whole Mano area and orchestration, right? Because the problem actually today is bridging to the past, right? I mean, they don't want to build a new silo. We have great products there like our NFV Director that helps do that. And so that's an important piece. And I think that whole transition of the OSS and BSS systems to virtual systems and onward is going to be an area. And, again, we feel very good about that because we have an OSS BSS portfolio. We have a new portfolio with NFV Director. We have a lot of assets like our HP software to provide analytics there. But that's going to be an ongoing move there.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because it does seem like that's going to be a big challenge, because obviously these operators have spent a lot of money over the past 20, 30 years on this equipment that's in their networks that's working pretty well. But this is a big shift for them operationally. I mean, going to virtualization is a huge shift, but they still need to kind of support those legacy systems while making this big change. it seems like that that orchestration aspect of it, of kind of making sure that the new and the old are working together, it is going to be a big part of kind of this whole move, for these operators.
Yeah. I mean, and that's part of the reason, why they've chosen us as a system integrator as well, not just getting us as a technology provider, because we have a lot of experience in doing that. And the more visionary ones like Telefonica understand that they have an opportunity even to improve their efficiency of their old systems management by moving to new models there, right? But yeah, that's a big deal. It's a big deal on how to do that, because again, any telco of any worth has existing systems, right? And
there's not a lot of greenfields out there. It's all brownfield at this point.
Yeah, it's all brownfield. But I think there's technology to do that. I think, the nice part about NFV, like we talked earlier, right? It's not a problem looking for, it's not a solution looking for a problem. I mean, they want agility, they want automation. If you talk to anybody in the industry, you can see ROI very quickly in terms of speed and in terms of, rolling out services faster. And there's people out there that the greenfields are doing it and they have to compete. So this has got to run fast. But yeah, bridging in general, in my opinion, is a huge part of NFV, both from telco to IT and both from old to new. That's a big part, and we believe we're uniquely positioned there with our assets and capabilities.
Yeah. How important? I mean, you kind of already touched on this a little bit, but how important is it the fact that you guys have worked with these operators in the past? You do know the telecom language, as opposed to maybe some of the vendors who are coming to the market who perhaps were in the data center side or the IT side, who perhaps don't have that telecom experience. It does seem like you guys do have at least that history of being able to say, hey, we know what your networks need to do. We've worked with you in the past. We can work with you on this. How important has that been for your customers?
Very important. I think the key is not so much that we tell them that, but they have experience with us, so they know, right? Because we can tell them a lot of things, but they know us, they've seen us, they have a lot of our products. We have, our HLR products all over the world where there's 6, 7, 9s, it's a part of their network. So they know that we have that heritage. I think the part that's unique, but they want someone who is IT centric too, right? They don't want the pure technical, because otherwise they're afraid we won't run fast enough. And so but it's very important. It's very important. Again, it's important that they have experience with us, because then they know when we tell them stuff, they know that it's, there's something behind it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, all right. I guess maybe looking a bit ahead on this as well. I mean, obviously there's been it seems like a lot of advances in NFV over the past 12 to 18 months, a lot of announcements made about it. I guess looking ahead a bit, I mean, what do you see as being perhaps some of the bigger breakthroughs perhaps in the technology, or perhaps the biggest challenges going over the next, say, 12 months from now? I mean, obviously from Mobile World Congress last year to this year, lots of advances. Looking at Mobile World Congress 2016, what do you see as kind of maybe being between now and then?
Well, first of all, I would differentiate between advancements and announcements.
Okay, well, that's a good point.
There's a lot of, like this announcement, of course, this is a deployment, but there's a lot of announcements of non-deployments. If there's no deployment, well, that's interesting. I think the basics are there. What you're going to be seeing now is a question of, how do we get to the carrier-grade SLA capability that they can move more things over, right? Because even if you look at a telco, right, they have a different level. They have multiple tiers of applications, right? Some of them have higher requirements, some of them have lower requirements. And everybody understands it's a journey to get there to the higher requirements. Mm-hmm. But they have to get there. We're going to get there. Again, with our carrier-grade Helium, we're on a good path there. OpenStack's on a good path there. But I think that's something to watch, which is, okay, what apps are going on and how there's an experience there. The other thing to watch is the MANO space. So the whole orchestration, how are you bridging? Again, it's very easy to do, and this is one of the big things Telefonica is doing. It's very easy to roll out as sort of a small sort of thing that you're running, which is sort of very contained. But if you want to, how do you tie it with your existing systems? That's going to be really important. I think the emergence of the importance of open technologies, even when everyone talks about it, the fact that you see, okay, they're deploying this. We're not just talking. I think it's going to be important as well.
Yeah, I mean, does the market realize the importance for the openness? Because obviously, I mean, again, a lot of the announcements that have been made over the past 12 months, there's been a lot from the open source communities, Linux Foundation, places like that, OpenNFV. But there's also been a lot of announcements from like vendor-driven types of, maybe standards or whatever you want to call them, that perhaps aren't as open as perhaps the open source is used to working with. Does the industry realize that there's maybe some differences there and where it's kind of heading, I guess? Is there any issues with how that's playing out?
I think, devil's in the details, right, and the proof points. I think, again, we should also look at open in different categories, right? I mean, one of the things about open, for example, and this is one of the reasons, again, Telefonica chose us, is they want someone to provide a platform that, any VNFs can work on, not only our VNFs, right?
Yeah.
The vendors will love to do it for you as long as you take only their VNFs, right? And this is where I go and talk about, you're moving from a feature phone to an app phone, right? Now, you don't change the phone, you bring new apps. I think the key in open is to look at what people are saying, right? You can talk about open source all day long, but downloading open source and compiling it is not open source. Open source means you're contributing, you're part of it. We're like one of the top contributors in OpenStack, and vendors and the telcos understand that. And this is one of the reasons we haven't got good traction, which is they're looking for people who are actually in the community, as opposed to just saying we're open source. And I think one of the things they're looking forward to is also participating in community. This is very important because it also helps mature the products, right? So if you're looking at OpenStack and so forth, more telco, more participation of the customers in the community will help. But I think, again, if you look at what they're emphasized on it, and this is why we feel really good about this industry, is they know where they're coming from and they don't want to copy that model, right? They want to complete the model. And they're in charge, right? They're driving this. You can tell them whatever you want to tell them, but they understand this. It's a different world now, right? They have open source. They can look at the depots. They can go to the GitHub and see who's doing what, and so they know it's all in the open. And we're very happy about it. But I think that will make sure that people are, that will hold people to the wire.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Now, obviously, for a company like yourselves, you guys have been, a lot of experience in the space. And it seems like, from the announcements from last year, you guys are definitely putting a lot of emphasis on this virtualization move. I think there were some numbers mentioned last year about your investment plans for kind of the OpenStack and NFV and things like that too. Obviously, from a company for yourselves, it's a huge move, a huge investment, a huge push for you guys. This is really almost not just for the mobile operators and telecom operators, but for you guys, a big change in operations, it seems.
Well, we made a big push. I was previously running a lot of the cloud pieces around OpenStack. I built part of that stuff, right? I'm still heavily involved in them because one of the ways that we're addressing this is we're not siloing, right? NFV is part of the cloud. We're working very closely together on programs. So we made a choice in OpenStack a while back before it was popular, right? We said, okay, we're going to go with open source. It will be difficult, but it's the right answer, right? Where the world is going. And we're making a big push, very large investments in that area. But we feel really good about it because that's where the industry is going. For us, for example, NFV, it's perfect for us. It's mostly greenfield, and it fits exactly. It fits our telco capability, fits our IT, fits our OpenStack. So it's a very nice fit for us. So we feel very good about it, and we continue to invest heavily. Meg is personally involved in a lot of the decisions we make around here on the investment side, and we feel really good about it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And maybe. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
I was going to say, and obviously this announcement is a great validation point. We have a lot of business at NFV, but having one of the top vendors at telcos in the world, one of the folks who is really visionary out there, driving Select You as the key technology provider and integrator, that's a big deal. That's a great validation for us.
Yeah. I guess maybe more on the announcement then. How long have you guys been working with Telefonica on this? I'm guessing it's not just us, and it just got whipped up last week. I'm sure you've been working behind the scenes for quite a while on this. What was that process like working with them, and I guess how are you guys working together, and maybe describe that a little bit.
Yeah, so they announced this. I think Enrique Blanco, their CTO, announced this program in terms of the fact that this is what they want to do exactly a year ago.
Yep.
We've been working with them. We and other competitors have been working with them on the process, the bid, and so forth since March.
Okay.
But it's involved labs and real tests and real things and real discussions, not PowerPoints, and so it's the real deal. They again, Telefonica have been around. They understand things. They got engineers. They know what they're doing. They came up with this design, and so it's been a lot of very close, tight collaboration, working on tests and stuff, and also with partners, right? Again, one of the benefits of this program, and one of the reasons vendors are, CSPs like this program, is they want someone who can work with other partners. We have a lot of good relationship with the NAPs. We have most of them. We have the ecosystem of folks that we were working on our OpenNFV labs, and they want to see that you can actually you can walk the talk, right? So there's been a lot of walking the talk in the last 6 months with them to show them that we can really do this for them.
I guess in this partnership, did they have a lot of people on their side working with a lot of people on your side, or were they was it more hands off from them, kind of letting you guys come in and run it, or how was that collaboration part of it?
They're pretty hands on.
Okay.
They're pretty hands on. We have labs. Obviously, we have some labs in Grenoble that they're using with us and so forth, but they're pretty hands on. We have a relationship with them like most. They have a relationship with a lot of vendors, obviously, so they know who we are. but they're pretty hands-on. They understand. Again, I mean, as you move into this world of NFV and DevOps and so forth, the vendors are a lot smarter about the technology. And the CSPs, the customers are a lot smarter about technology. And that's good for us. I mean, we're very happy with that because it helps us. But I mean, so it's pretty hands-on. Yeah,
and obviously with this announcement, it seems like Telefonica is pretty comfortable with the reliability aspects of all of this. I mean, this, again, that's always been kind of a challenge too, is, operators do tend to kind of like the 5.9 models, and they want to make sure things are up and running all the time. And this is a big move.
That's I mean, look, it's going to be they're not moving their HLS tomorrow morning, right? That's going to be, they have it's a multi-state. If you look at the announcement, it's a multi-stage process. They're moving, but I think we've proven, and the technology's proven, that we can get the right levels of reliability at this stage, and obviously the reliability will continue to improve, or the SLAs, the capability, maybe not the reliability, will continue to improve. Rolling out different versions of our carrier-grade Helium, which we announced was Wind River. And I think they're comfortable that there's a good path there. Obviously, as the move happens, and they understand that, right? I mean, there's going to be a different shift of what reliability actually means, right? You're moving sort of hardware-based reliability to sort of a cloud model.
Yeah.
But, this stuff works, right?
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of a big change for those operators in general. I mean, again, the reliability changes are coming along, but also it seems like even when it comes to standards, I mean, I think the previous understanding of what standards meant seems to be changing with this new model as well. I mean, I think, operators always tend to kind of wait for what standards are coming out and work a lot with ETSI and UGPP on stuff. But it seems like with this new model, that's kind of changing, where standards aren't probably what they used to be. It has to be perhaps a new understanding of what that all is.
Definitely at this level, and this is part of the move to an IT model, right? Obviously on the wireless side, it's different, but you're moving to an IT model, and in an IT model, right, it's more about APIs, open APIs, the ability to program things, automation, and less about, very specific hard standards. Obviously, NFV came from ETSI, so there is a push there, but they got to move faster. They got to move faster. They got to move in an IT model. They understand that. In fact, Telefonica are moving very quickly. They're keeping us on our toes, that's for sure. And that's sort of changing the dynamic of that, of how the standards interact. I think standards are still very important, but I think you're going to see more and more as you get into these sort of app models, focus on APIs, right? So is it programmable, right? Is it programmable by anybody, not just another person in your company, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's the world we're moving to. And so that changes the emphasis in this part of what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that sounds good. Well, great. Well, so I mean, those are most of the questions I had on the topic. I kind of rambled on a few of the questions there, but it definitely helps me out with what I'm looking at for next week. Obviously, a big announcement from you guys, and it seems like it's going to be another big show for most people there. So I definitely appreciate the insight on that. Thanks for the kind of more details on everything. And if I have any more questions on this, I'll make sure I get back in touch with Eric there to maybe fill in some of the holes there. But definitely appreciate the time and the insight on the announcement.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I think the key for us here is this is a great validation both for HP and the industry.
Yeah.
Right. Of both, for the industry in terms of, now this is a huge vendor, a huge CSP going off and doing a full transformation. And obviously for us, they're choosing us for open bridging portfolio, the capabilities. And so we feel really good about it. We think this is a key. This is the beginning of something here.
Yeah, and again, I know from the news perspective side of things, obviously having the operators involved in these announcements is a big part too. I mean, that seems to make these things more real. Again, like you said, these aren't just announcements that are just, hey, we've got this. This is actually partnerships with operators putting these things out in the field. So it seems like it's a much bigger step than perhaps just the regular announcement type of thing too.
Yeah, no, I think the word partnership is really important. I think that's a good point. And this is clearly a partnership, and that's why also we're in the system integration with them, right? It's a partnership to help them over the next 2 years roll all this out, as opposed to sort of just, hey, we're going to talk about something. This is the real deal.